Can you hear me?
Yaakov, what time you want to do tomorrow?
Oh. What time is this man?
6:25.
What time is the early Shabbos, Minyana?
6:25.
20. Late. You sure about that?
I believe so.
Hello. Can anybody hear me? Am I getting blacked out?
You keep going in and out.
What?
Yaakov, you're going in and out.
All right, so let me hold on.
Shayashav early mincha's at 6:20, so 6:25 makes sense.
Flag is 6:38. Flag is 6:38.
Okay, so 5:40. That's all. 5:40.
Matzah. Shabbos 9:40.
40. Can I be heard now?
Yes.
Okay, let's hope. I'm on both, so let's hope. Fine. So we left. Oh, we're Mamash read a Mishnah, right? I ain't testing it off on the top, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. That's that light out. Oh, now the music stopped. Baruch Hashem. So Haisa Medes al Rosh Hagag. Right? If she's standing on top of a roof, right, we're going to get a lot. Rabbi, tonight we're getting a lot of football, Mashalom, in today's top again, right, with getting over, right?
I asked a lot of questions this morning. I asked a lot of questions this morning. It's Shmuel Grossman said I was asking Aaron questions.
Ah, boy, is that okay? Okay, yeah. There's a lot of. I mean, you need to have the tochen in Das Torah for tonight's stuff. All right, welcome back, Gershon. Yeah. So, because some of the lumdus of how something is considered shomer or not is difficult for our types of brains to understand. So, anyways, well, let's see. So, Haisa Medes al Rosh Hagag. Let's say she's standing on top of a roof. Right? He threw it to her. Once it reaches to the roof, the airspace of the roof, I raise the Megareshes and she's divorced. So basically what it is she's standing on top of a roof, right? This is the opposite of Romeo and Juliet, right? She's standing on top of the roof and he's throwing a get up to her. So right when the get reaches on top of the roof, then it's a get. Aaron Kaplan. Yeah. In my car is with that. Down there, yeah. In the back seat. Whatever you want. Yeah. Anyway, so sorry. So again, Jacob, so she's standing on top of the roof.
He didn't come to say hi to me. Don't worry. He came to invite you.
All right. You got a 2-for-1 deal. Okay, anyway, so she's standing on top of the roof, and he's throwing the get to her on top of the roof. So right when the get reaches over the plane, I guess, right, Rabban? Right when it reaches over the plane of the wall of the house, the get becomes... by the way, what we're referring to with the plane between last night's stuff and today's stuff is in football, in order to get a touchdown, the player does not have to get over the line. Just the ball has to get over the line before his knee is down. Meaning once the football crosses the line, then it's a touchdown, even if the guy never makes it into the end zone. Right? That's if he's running. If it's a pass, then obviously the guy catching the pass has to be in the end zone. So there it's different than get, right? Because by football, the ball, if you're throwing the ball to a guy in the end zone, the guy has to catch it. By Gittin, we're saying not like that. Once the get passes over the line of the house, or the line of the wall of the house, then that's enough to consider it a get. By football, it's not like that. But if it's a guy running, all he has to do is stick the ball over the line, and then that's as if it's in the end zone. Okay, so that's what the reference is. But anyways, that's what we're saying here.
So I'm just gonna say, so the tip of the paper has to cross the plane, or the whole paper has to cross the plane.
So from last night's stop is mashma the whole paper, right? Because last night the Gemara asked if they're both 50-50, so then right there was 8 amas. We said one of the pshatim was where if it falls in between them exactly is 8 amas, and the get was right in the middle. So the Gemara asked that the get is still on his side a little bit. So how could it be a good get? So based on that Gemara's kasha, then the Gemara changed the pshat. So based on the kasha, I'm assuming that the entire get has to be over, not just you're right, David. That's another different thing than football. But football, just the tip of the ball has to be over the line. Here, the equivalent of the entire ball.
The tip of the ball is the ball. The tip of the get is not the get. That's not the get. It could be blank paper the first 4 inches. It's not the get.
I hear that point, but the truth is even if 90% of the get is inside, the chayra sounds like it's not a good. It's still no good as long as one chelik is in his reshut. Yeah, the chayra. Anyway,
so
it's Govi, what do you want to say?
Hockey. So now it's like hockey.
What's the relevance of this din?
The whole puck has to cross the line.
Is that how it goes in hockey? The whole puck has to cross the line? I'm not educated enough in hockey.
And whose roof is it? And does it matter?
Oh, good question.
Right.
That's the Gemara is going to ask.
What's the relevance of this din?
Yes, it's very much negeya whose roof it is. That's going to be by the Gemara, right? L'chayr has to be her roof, right? If it's his roof, what's it going to do? Right?
But who cares if it's in the airspace? Within seconds, it's going to hit the ground or the roof.
Lavdafka.
If she's playing goalie and blocks it and knocks it away.
There's gravity.
Well, how about the wind? The get goes over the thing, and the wind comes and blows it. We're going to see. And also a fire, possible. Like, you get a pyromaniac shooting fireworks, and as it's coming, boom. Yeah, right. So that could happen too. We have all sorts of variables.
A bird could cop it. I mean.
Well, no, if the bird's not busy taking meat and replacing trefa meat with kosher meat, right? Like that. that is the rabbanon that we have another hard time understanding, right? Don't leave your food on the grill, right? Because the bird might come and change your kosher piece for an exact same looking treif piece, right? So watch out. That bird might be hungry for a get. Anyways, so right when the get goes over the plane, so then it becomes hers. Well, we'll see in the Gemara who owns the roof. Then it's Harisa Meguresha. She's Meguresha. Third line down. But let's say it's the opposite. He's on his roof, and she's in the yard. Meaning it's basically like in Borough Park, where the houses are right next to each other. Right. So he just drops the get right out of his window, and it's in his neighbor's yard. There's no yard there, right? Yeah, Rachel, it's not the country. That's the
in Borough Park, you stick it out your window, it goes into the other guy's bathroom. Yes.
That wasn't the case of the Gemara, but you're right. Anyway, since it goes out from the Reshus Hagad, then Nimchak or Nisraf, right? So if it got erased, or it got burnt before it even landed, right? Rashi seems to say later that it started raining, right? He threw the get out, the get's in the air, a pouring rain came and erased the whole get. Was it a good get or not? Hareza Meguresha, she is divorced. So again, basically, the Gemara is giving 2 different examples of where the get goes over the air, and therefore over the airspace. Yeah, that goes over the airspace, and then it becomes hers. Yeah, fine. Gemara says v'halei mintar, but it's not considered a chotzer that's mishtameret. Mintar means to be watched. It's not a chotzer mishtameret, right? A stam on top of a roof, that's not considered a place that you could protect it. It's not a protected place.
Why? It has a mic. It has a mic all around.
Oh, that's the terex. Yeah, but that's the Gemara. The Gemara's Havamina that there's no mica for whatever reason. You're right. What's a Havamina? Right? Because how do you not have a mica? The Gemara's terex is that it has a wall.
It's a slanted roof.
Wall.
It was a slanted roof. You don't need a mic.
Can't be
That's
a slanted
true.
roof.
Slanted roof, you don't need a mica.
We have to be talking about a flat roof. Otherwise, a slanted roof, it would fall off anyway.
Right. That could be too. Based on yesterday's Gemara, where her hand is slanted.
Maybe it had a piece of Velcro on it and it would stick to the roof.
That could be. But
he wants her to get it, right? I suppose since he threw it to her, he wants her to get it.
Correct.
But I think it's mashma that it's a slanted roof. What's al Rosh Hagag, not just al Hagag.
Correct. No, but that meaning again that she's messing up the get here. He wants her to get the get, but it doesn't mean that she's taking him the right way, right? Yeah, but anyways, okay. So the Gemara asks again, v'havlei mitzvah. So if for whatever reason the Gemara doesn't think, for a while. I just started, so sorry, like an hour. Okay, sorry. We'll try and do it less than an hour. Don't get scared anymore. I just don't want him to get scared. It's going to go for another hour. Okay, so I'm going to read Shmuel Bagakshi.
My heart just skipped a beat.
Parrots texted me, we saw a little bit ago. They said, it's 32 minutes into the daf. We're still on Amud Aleph from yesterday. So we got to get moving to him. Okay, so anyways, the Gemara Zomer Avinu Mishmul Bagakshi. It's in my case, we're talking about a gag that has a fence. Ula Bamenashi Mishmei Davimi Yomar. We're talking about where a total different shot. The Gemara is saying it now. We're talking about where the get landed within 3 tefachim of the roof. Right? And then the wind blew it or the rain came. So we say lovud. Right? We know that anything within 3 tefachim is lovud. Right? So since it got within 3 tefachim of the roof, of the floor of the roof, I guess, or the top, whatever, what she was standing on, then it's lovud and it's if it landed. The chol pachas shleisha stomach l'gaki gag dummy. Anything less than 3 tefachim is considered part of the gag. Fine. Okay. Then the Gemara says hula malach. So that was the case where she was on the roof, he was on the floor. The second case is where he's on the roof, she's on the floor. Again, the same thing. She's in a chotzer that's not mishtameret. So now it's meaning the Gemara is thinking now that the walls, meaning the roof, is higher than the walls of the chotzer next to it. Yeah, meaning when let's say she has a roof. Let's say here's the roof right here, right? Yeah, this is the roof. And then he's standing on top of the roof and he's throwing it off the roof. So we're saying that the get becomes the get right when it goes over the plane, meaning right when it gets over her yard, which is bordering on his house, it becomes a get. Right now, right when it goes right here on the top, there's no fence, there's no wall. So the Gemara is afraid. Well, how do you know the wind is not going to come and blow the get? Meaning, when we're saying that the get becomes the get the second the get goes off the roof and is above her property, right? But when it's above her property, right there's no walls. There's no walls. So if there's no walls, how do you have it? How do you have it that it's considered mishtameret? So that's what the Gemara says. No, the Gemara is saying that the person in the yard had walls that went higher than the roof, than this guy's roof. They go higher than the upper one. That's called the Daf Yomi special right there. Yeah, or two repeats of the same thing. Basically, the way it comes out is like, let's say the phone is the wall of the lower yard, and this is the roof, right? Can anybody see? You can see it? Meaning this is the roof. He's standing on top of the roof. Here's the yard. The yard is in between, and these are the walls of the yard. Like basically, she's in a compound, right? So when the second the get comes off the roof, it's in protected area because since there's walls right here, it's going to protect it. The wind is not going to blow like that. For all those that want to know about whether walls protect the wind, I in Shea Stadium, right, Ravar, with the wind blowing because the whole outside was, that's a good Tuesday, right? Because the whole outfield was open, and they said the wind in Shea Stadium was crazy. Shea Stadium was before City Field, for those that don't. For those that don't know, the swirling winds they talked about there.
Yeah.
The crash course in baseball here. It's a bonus.
Football too. It was a thing. Anyway, it affected the Jets much more than it affected the Mets. I think the football. But okay, whatever it is, fine.
If you don't know Shea Stadium, you don't belong on this daf.
Now you're talking.
You're too young. It's just you're too young. That's all.
It's true. That's true. That's a good point.
Or a Yankee fan.
Yeah. Well, no, you still have to know what.
I grew up a Yankee fan. I still know.
We're getting a little political here. Let's keep it going.
Okay, good. Right. So Amalei Rav Abba Leula Kaman, who is it like? Rebbe Damar Kluta Kamishon Katami. So I don't remember this from Shabbos and from Erevin. This sheet is going, and this is not so easy to understand. That when you're taking Shabbos, I'll tell you a mashal for those that know where I live. I'm assuming most people know where I live. Or my mother lives. So we have my mother, and then we have Shifarakli across the street. Both of them are just a
I have no idea where you live.
Don't know, huh? So anyways, my kids don't use Eruv. So they try to look for shticks to get a ball into the gym, into the YFR gym on Shabbos, right? So they say, okay, we're going to take a ball and throw it from Bubby's yard, and somebody will catch it in YFR steps, and that's Givaldic. It goes from Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah. The problem is that there's this rule called Kluta, which is that when it goes over to Rosh Hashanah, it's as if it landed in Rosh Hashanah. So the shtick that the kids are trying to pull is a very nice shtick, but it doesn't work, at least according to Rebbe, right? Because it's as if, even though it never landed in Rosh Hashanah, once it goes into the airspace of the Rosh Hashanah, it's as if it was Kluta. Kluta means it was grabbed or absorbed, right?
What do you do with Akira? It's an Akira and Anocha every foot that it goes? That's Kluta.
That's what you have to say. It's not going to be a Deraisa. It's not going to be a Deraisa. It's going to be a Derabanan. Right?
Say that neutral zone infraction.
What? I mean, if it goes above 10 tefachim.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. So didn't we say we had a whole shaila of Kluta is above 10 tefachim or not? Did we say that?
Only in Rosh Hashanah, though, no?
I don't know. You think I remember?
Mishnah.
I'm glad you think so. That's very nice. That could very well be.
See, Yaakov and Babish pushing it now because Aaron Rodgers can throw it across the street on Pachas me to under 10 tefachim. Okay,
that's true.
This is his first game as a Jet. Okay, you want to Mamish make it Meshiga? Okay,
okay, you're right. You're right.
Although he's probably not.
I don't remember.
But
yeah. What are you saying, Gershon?
They could throw it above 10 tefachim as long as it never goes below 10 tefachim in Rosh Hashanah. It would work.
Could be. I thought we weren't sure.
If you throw a fig against the wall and it sticks, it's potter. It's whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I don't remember. Okay, well, let's assume that it's below 10 tefachim. Whatever it is. The kluta is that it absorbs it. So Amalei, they said to him, afilu tem, meaning, so because it takes it in, so that's what we're saying. The thing does not necessarily have to, the get does not necessarily have to land on the ground. It's kluta. Amalei, afilu tem rabbanon adkan, like pligi rabbanon alad, Rebbe elovin in Shabbos. Rebbe is having a mafleik with the rabbanon about kluta, whether this is actually the case, that once it passes in the air, as if it lands. Here we're not talking about, the only reason why we want to get to land is so that it should be considered watched, right? But it is, because it's within the walls. Once it's within the walls, it's considered watched. So we shouldn't need to come on to Rebbe's Shita, which is that it's Kluta. Even without the Kluta, as long as it's below the walls, that the walls were protected from the wind, then we should be okay. Again, another Daf Yomi special here. It's talking about with the bottom, the mechitzas are higher than the roof. And then they only disagree by Shabbos, but we don't say Kluta. Here, the only reason why we need to get to be landed is because on the floor it's considered shmura. So what's the tira means shmura means it's considered protected. So v'hakaminta. Again, I don't know if I speak those words. And it is being watched, regardless of whether you say kluta or not. Fine. Nimchak. So we said if it's going in the air and it's above the airspace of the woman's reshut, and then it gets erased, so it's still a good get. Why? Because once it gets over the airspace, it's as if it was on the ground. It got erased when it was on the way down. But if it was got erased on the way up, then it doesn't work. My time because it's not going. When it's on its way up, it's not yet on its way down. I know that didn't sound so brilliant.
If it gets erased, how does you know it's on it? Meaning, if I give you a piece of paper and there's nothing, and it was erased, you have no idea what was on it. So how does she know it's again?
No, you have Aiden, no? So Avrami Goodman asked me a good question today. He said, aren't there supposed to be Aiden on the get? Like last night's get where the guy's not telling you to get it. He's telling you, what happened to the Aiden? No? It's a good kasha. So I thought maybe it's going according to the sheet that says not like that. But you don't need Aiden for the Mesiva. Maybe it's only for the Ksiva. I don't know. But, okay, it was a good kasha. But, again, here, when it's falling, it has to, when the get, in order for the get to be considered like it's in her reshus, it has to be on the way down. If it's on the way up, then it's no good because it hasn't yet landed. Even though, how do you say gravity? It seems like the Gemara is not taking gravity into account here. Saying the get has to have been on the way down. If it's on the way up, it doesn't work. Right? Meaning, because when it's on the way down, it's considered like it's already in her reshus. When it's on the way up, it's not considered in her reshus. I don't know if anybody's having difficulty understanding that. I am not having difficulty.
Gravity
now you stole
another 1,000 years.
Oh, that's the sport I was singing for. The sport muscles, goaltending, kaka. I was trying to fit into football with the arm moving forward. What's it called? The forward pass rule. Right, but you're right. Goaltending
tuck rule
in basketball. The who?
Called the tuck rule.
Correct. Right. Very good. Wow. That's
his first Super Bowl. Right, Abby. His first Super Bowl in the snow.
Yeah. Anyways, what Rabban's referring to is that if you're playing basketball, you're not allowed to block a shot when it's above the rim. But if it's on the way up and it's above the rim, then that's not called goaltender, and you're allowed to block it. So if a guy's like under the basket, those guys are very tall, so they can do this. He's above the basket and he tries to throw the ball up over the rim. If it's on its way up, you could block it, and it's not considered goaltending. If the ball's on the way down, then it's considered goaltending. Right? So that's mamish gemara. Right? And when the get is on the way down, it's considered as if it's in her reshut. But when it's on the way up, it's not yet on the way to her reshus. Which again, I don't really understand because there's something called gravity, and what goes up must come down. So when it went over the wall of her reshus, now it's in her reshus, but it's on the way up. Good. So it's going to start coming down in a 2 feet. All right. So why isn't that a get? It has to be on its way down. Okay. Fine. Nisraf, if it got burned. That's only if the get was thrown before the fire started. But let's say you have a fire. Guys, she has a campfire. Right? She's sitting by a barbecue on her roof. Right? And the guy decides to throw the get out the window onto her roof. Right? And he threw it straight into the fire. So that's not a good get, because that get never had a chance. It never had a chance to be a kosher get. It was headed straight to the fire. By the time it was headed straight into the fire.
What if she catches it on the way in?
If she intercepts it,
yeah,
then it would become a get when it gets to her hands. I'm assuming. Until it gets to her hands.
Don't say if the point is that if it's going into the fire, it's not a get. It's already bucked.
This was not going into the fire. This is going into her hand. It's not going into the fire.
We almost never say that with galus, with anything.
So we don't almost doesn't is not 100%. You know what I mean?
I don't know where we do say it. Is what I'm trying to say. I know that if someone kills someone on the way falling down a building and he sticks a sword into him, he killed someone who's dead. This get is going into the fire.
You're talking about for galus. You're talking about for galus.
Anything. It's one of the. These are one of the klolim. If from a what's it called? A lulav from an asher. It's already burnt. So it's nothing. Can't shake it. The fact that I saved it. This is
matter. That doesn't matter if it's burnt. It's not a lulav anymore.
That's the point here. It's not a get because it's
no, it's
burnt.
not. She obviously is a get because she caught it and it didn't go into a fire, so it obviously is a get.
No. One second. Back up a second. If the Gemara just said if it's going to land in the fire, it's done.
But since she caught it, it's not going to. That's obvious. Means it's not going to land in the fire.
No, Gershon, it's going to become hers. If it's going to become hers when it's going straight into the fire, then it's not going to work, right? Right. But once she intercepts it, then it became hers. No. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Bye.
We're gonna get yelled at from parents again. We gotta get moving here.
Oh yeah. Okay. He's watching my.
Well,
kids,
why don't you take care of it? What do you want from parents?
There's only one person that's going to be yelled at. It's not going to be us.
Parents have their parents. I don't want to do. That's why.
What?
Parents is the first.
I didn't hear.
The l'chaim. Parents. It's the first time we had a l'chaim for a siyum.
You missed two l'chaims.
Yeah.
Back-to-back nights.
But he WhatsApped me. He WhatsApp me the word l'chaim. I knew where he was hoping when he WhatsApped me the word l'chaim. I don't know if it counts, but I'm sure he had the l'chaim. That I don't doubt. Okay. Anyways, so it has to be that the fire came later after the get was thrown, which means it's a very particular situation. Fine. We can consider different reshuyas to gittin, right? Meaning. We had this people how to go. Let's see how the Gemara says this. How do you know this? Right? How does the Saba, the elder one, know this? It's our Mishnah. She's standing on the roof. This is our law, and he throws it to her. Since it reached the Averagag, she's Mekudeshet. Now here we go. Ready? The Gemara is going to push at the question. What's going on here? Again, she's on the roof. The first case is the Mishnah, she's on the roof, he's on the ground. Second case is he's on the roof, she's on the ground. So, but my asking, what's the case? If she owns the roof and she also owns the yard, then why do you need to get to go over the roof, the airspace of the roof? So that can mean it's her yard too. Must be his roof and his yard. If that's the case, so when it gets over the roof, what's the difference? It's his roof. So it's not in her chasa. Ela pshita has to be the gag dita b'chasa dite, which is the way we all understood it. She's on top of her roof, and he has his yard bordering on her roof. So then, okay, great. But then the problem is the seifa. He's on the top, she's on the bottom. The zarkula, and they threw it to her. He threw it to her. And once it went off his roof, nimchak if it got erased, or nisaf if it got burned, erased him gereshes, she's divorced. If we're talking about with the same parameters as the ratio, which is it's her roof and his yard, amai megereshes. Then why is she divorced? It went into his yard. Ella must be begagdi day v'chatzah dida. Must we have to switch the case in the sefer? It's his roof and her yard. Okay, so Reisha begagdi da v'chatzah day. Are you going to say that the Reisha is talking about where it's his roof, her roof and his yard, and Seifa is begagdi day, his roof v'chatzah dida and her yard? Doesn't make sense to say that, right? All of a sudden the case is switching from the Reisha to the Seifa. Okay. The cynic in me said we have a lot more shvera mishnayos than having that, but okay. But the Gemara obviously doesn't like it, that it should be two opposites. Elolav, the Aishla must be that he lent her the place on the roof or the yard, meaning it was really his, but because he wanted her to take the get, he said, "Here, borrow the space on the roof." Right? So the chad makam mashli inshi, because a person, when he lends somebody a little bit of yard, he's renting him that piece and that's it. Trei makam is loy mashli inshi, two places a person is not going to rent, and that's what our Mishnah is saying. So that's what the Gemara said when the Gemara said before that there's a reshuyas halukas begittin, the separate reshuyas by gittin. Therefore, it means that the place that he lent her to receive the get is considered hers. Any other place in the yard or roof is not considered hers. That was his proof from our Mishnah. Fine. Now the Gemara goes on a different shot. Amar Rava, Shalosh midas begittin. There are 3 midas in gittin. Right? Meaning how gittin is different than Shabbos. Yeah. Rashi says it's different from other isurim, but really we're going to see from the Gemara that the 3 examples is how get is different than Shabbos. Right? We said before that when something goes over the property, it's as if it's rested in the property. And the Rabbanan disagree. Shabbos. That's only the Rabbanan only disagree about it being kluta kamisha honcha on Shabbos for Shabbos. But by get, we just need to have this get in the yard protected by walls, and we don't need it to rest on the ground. So therefore, for Haminter, it is. Therefore, when it has a wall, it is considered watched, and therefore the get is considered in a secure place, and therefore it's a good get, even according to the Rabbanan. We don't hold of this rule of kluta. That's one case. If somebody sticks a reed into Rishus HaYachid, like a pole, and on the top of that pole is a basket. Okay, it sounds like a basketball hoop. Not except this one, the ball doesn't come out of it, right? That's what Chaim Kanievsky when they asked him, right? I don't know if this story is true or not. Right? They asked him, Chaim Kanievsky, if he could play basketball on Shabbos. They asked, what's basketball? And they told me, you take a ball, you put it into a basket. They said, why can't you do it before Shabbos? Right? Right? Yeah. So that's so it's talking about one of Reb Chaim Kanievsky's baskets. Right? Right? So it's one of Reb Chaim Kanievsky's baskets. So therefore, when you go and you throw it, and it lands in this basket, so is that considered haitzah? So again, no, it's kind of just a yachid. If you stuck a kana into Rishus HaYachid, Rosh Traskel, and the top of it was a basket, the Zarach and he threw something and it rested on top of this basket. Afilu Gavaya Mea Amma, even if it's 100 Ammas high, right? Chayev, he's still Chayev. Why? The Rishus HaYachid Oila Ad L'Rakia, because Rishus HaYachid goes up to the sky, right? Meaning, Rishus HaRabim.
This is what Gershon was talking about.
Hold on a second. Yeah, I'm sorry. Rishus HaRabim only goes up to 10 Tvachim high. Rishus HaYachid goes Ad L'Rakia. Yeah. So, but since Rishus HaYachid goes Ad L'Rakia, even though the guy built a basket on top of a pole, so therefore, when you throw it from Rishus HaRabim, it's going to be considered like a land of Rishus HaYachid, right? Tahani means in Shabbos, but that's only for Shabbos. But here by a get, it needs to be watched. You throw a get onto a basket that's on top of a pole, the wind is very likely going to knock it off. So therefore, in this case, for Shabbos it works, for what do you call it? It does not work. For a get, it will not work because it's not considered secure there. On top of base now. So let's say you had like, what do you call it? Townhouses? You have townhouses, right? So they're all attached. So the roofs are considered separate roofs. So the Gemara is saying you can't go take rain that fell on your friend's roof, even though the roof is all connected. You can't go take rain from one roof and put it to the other roof. Check a shame should you're in Kaluk because just like it's separate apartments on the bottom, so too, it's the urine chalukin on the top. So you're not allowed to. But Shabbos. But that's only for Shabbos that you're not allowed to go take water from your friend's roof. But forget, the only thing of a get that it has to be in this one's rishus and that one's rishus, that's only because you want to make sure the guy's not maksid. The kulei haidla kap the inchi. And people are not so maksid. People are not so maksid that if the get should dafka fall into the roof of your house, the guy won't care, or she won't care, probably more the guy, that if, the roof, it landed on the friend's roof, that's good enough. That's close enough to her. Fine. Amar Abaya. Alright. Then Abaya has another interesting case. Let's say you have 2 yards, one inside the other. The inside yard is hers, outside yard belongs to the husband. And the outer walls are higher than the lower wall, than the inside wall. Meaning, basically, what does this look like? What's the muscle for this? There's a name for this type of property, right? The one is behind the other, but here it's not. I don't remember the name. But basically, he has a yard.
Well, like a mother-daughter?
No, it's not mother-daughter. No, mother-daughter is in the same apartment. There's opposite name to it. I don't know. But anyway, so
landlocked.
His wall.
Landlocked. Yeah, you can't get to the other inner property. You can't get to the inner property unless you have permission to go through the other property. But the other property, you're landlocked. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe that's.
It doesn't have to be that high.
There
are plenty of like backyards and gardens that have like a small retaining wall where you could have like a little bit, like let's say a 3 feet high wall, and then the fence going around the yard is a 6 foot fence.
Oh, that's right. That's a good point. Yeah, that's all right. Very good. Yeah. So as long as the outer fence is higher than the inner fence, then the zarkula, and then he throws the get to her. Once it hits below the outer mechitza, areza megareshes, then it's megareshes. My timer. Kanim is gufa mechitza. Achitzana come into because the inner walls are being watched literally by the outer walls. Meaning because since the outer walls will protect the inner walls from the wind, so therefore it's considered mira. Mashain came for kupas, but if it's just in boxes, it's not going to work. Meaning, you have a refrigerator box, and inside the refrigerator box, you have an air conditioner box, right? So you're going to say, well, once it goes into the inner box, it's protected by the walls of the refrigerator box. Or it says, no, it doesn't work. Mashain came for kupas, stay kupas, so you have 2 boxes, one inside the other. The inner box, the air conditioner box, is hers. The outer box, the refrigerator box, is his. The Zarkulani throws it to her. Even if it reaches inside the wall of the air conditioner, it's not. She's not divorced. My timer, it didn't rest, meaning it didn't land yet in the box. The Gemara says, let's say it does land. Caleb Shalikeber, just this was yesterday's stuff. Even if it lands in a box, so what? The air conditioner box belongs to the lady. So why is it a good get? The whole box is in the rishus of the husband, right? Which we said yesterday. Caleb of the Lekeach is not kind of. It's in rishus of the bow. It's talking about it has a false bottom, meaning it doesn't have a bottom. There's no bottom on the box. So since there's no bottom on the box, so therefore. It's not considered part of the outer box, right? Meaning, but you have to say, Pashut, that the inside box is her land, right? Because again, the Gemara makes it sound like, oh, since the inner box doesn't have a bottom, so therefore when the get lands on the floor, it's going to be hers. What do you mean? It's his property. So you have to say that inside that box is her property. So she owns, or he lent to her, that little bit of land. Okay, now we get to get Yosha.
Well, we're talking about these chatzeres surrounded by mechitzos, right? And if she's a yachid, and it's like the good asik, the mechitzos go up, whatever. What if he only had the tzuras of Pesach, or you only have tzuras of Pesach? He made a bunch of tzuras of Pesach, and that's how they define the first chatzer.
You're asking maybe make a tzuras of Pesach?
Yeah.
I don't know, Taka. Maybe. Okay, Dr. Mishnah. B'Shamai Yomrim. This is very interesting here, the way this Mishnah is set up, right? Because there's something called get yoshan, which we had a few days ago, which is a get, an old get, literally. So what does this mean? That we're afraid that if the couple was together after the get was written, we're afraid once they're together that means that the get is no good. Then they're using an old, and they use that same get. They have to rewrite the get. Basically, if a couple writes a get, then they're together physically, then they give that same get. That get is puzzle. So that could be called a get yashan, and she's not divorced, and if she goes off and gets married, she's an Eishes. Right? So Beishamai has no problem with it. Paiter Adam Ishta to get Yashan. Beishamai says it's Pater. But Beisilil says it's Pater. Right? The Ezu get Yashan. What's considered an old get? Kolshan is Yachad Imam Be'afish Katsula. After they wrote the get, after he wrote the get for her, they ended up having Yichud. Right? So Beishamai has no problem with get Yashan. Beisilil has a problem with get Yashan. Now the Gemara goes and explains Beis Shammai before Beis Hillel. That's what's interesting. Beis Hillel is the one that makes this gezerah, and the Gemara first explains Beis Shammai why he doesn't hold to the gezerah before we even know what the gezerah is. Right? Normally the Gemara always explains Beis Shammai first, but here it's a little interesting because Beis Hillel makes the gezerah. So the Gemara first explains why Beis Shammai doesn't hold to the gezerah, but we didn't even get to the gezerah yet because Beis Hillel didn't explain himself. But that's what's going on here. So the might come is what's the machlokes?
We don't have a problem with Beis Shammai being makel here.
That's a different issue. Well, look, it's a kula and a chumrah. It's a kula and a chumrah, right? He's saying the get's a good get, so meaning she's not an Eishes Ish. Right? She's not. That's she's saying it's a kula. That's the kula, right?
Right.
The chumrah is that she's divorced. I don't know if that's a chumrah. You're saying that's not necessarily a chumrah.
I don't know. We have a we have a whole paragraph of Mishnayos where Beis Shammai is makel, and then we say those are the places that Beis Shammai is makel, and it doesn't include this case.
Right. Yeah. So we're gonna. Prices brings Yerushalmi that. This is going Beis Shammai l'shitasa, which we're going to see next week. Beis Shammai has a very wild shita in Gittin. He holds Gittin are osir, unless she's mezana. The only way you can divorce your wife is if she's mezana. So it's here. The Taisa says from the Yerushalmi that's Beis Shammai l'shitasa.
Isn't that a Christian thing? They can't get divorced.
Hey, well, correct, but that's Beis Shammai. That shita's Beis Shammai, but. Okay, whatever, we'll get to it. Either way, so the might come in for this. So Beis Shammai started learning because Hashem Yom Gittin Kaidim Livna. Beis Shammai says we're not going to make this gezerah. That people are going to think that the get came before the kids. Now, it's hard to understand because we don't do Beis Hillel. Beis Hillel Savri, I'm reading gezerah Hashem Yom Gittin Kaidim Livna. There's a gezerah. Now, what are they going to think? Basically, what happened is they wrote a get. The husband writes a get. He never gave it to his wife. A year or two later, he puts it in his pocket and he says, "Whenever I decide to give it to my wife, I'm going to give it to my wife." So they stay happily married for the next 2 years, and they have a kid, right? Then he gives the divorce. 10 years later, they look at the paper on the divorce. It says, "Oh, this was written 10 years ago." Oh, they had a kid 9 years ago. Okay, so this kid is born out of wedlock, right? when they're not going to remember. No, the get was written earlier, it just wasn't given. Nobody's going to remember. So people
They
are
don't put a date on it when it's
Hara.
actually given. They don't sign on it or put a date on it when it's actually given.
No. Well, it depends. If you get into the Eid and Basira, right? There's an Eid and Basira if you have the Eid, but it's on the get itself. No, the get is written. The date is written right. The early one. Now, why they don't make an addendum to it? That I don't know. It's a good question, right? But whatever it is, because of this, the Beis Hillel says people are going to walk around saying lashon hara on this kid. Beis Shammai says that's not a chashash. That's not a chashash. So that's what Beis Shammai says. Beis Shammai says we don't say this gezerah. Beis Hillel says we do say this gezerah. Tomer Rav Abba Omer Shmuel in misses like say. But this is not such a strong gezerah, because even according to Beis Hillel, who says the get is no good, but if she got married, she does not have to get divorced. Right? So meaning it's a lechatchila tika gezerah. But if for whatever reason she didn't listen, or they used it as a get and then she got married, then we say they could stay married. And Ravada and Ikadamri, Omer Rav Abba Omer Shmuel is even more mekel. In this garsha, tinase lechatchila. If they actually gave the get, then she could get married lechatchila. Meaning the first way was saying was that if she got married to somebody else, they could stay married. The second version is no. If they're not supposed to give the get, it's a get yoshan according to the Torah. If they gave the get, she can go get married. Right? Which, if you look at Rashi, this is one of these depressing Rashi. Why? Because Rashi says the get yoshan v'halach bailu Medina Sayyam. Right? Her husband went to Medina Sayyam, she could get married. Okay, so the way I understood the Rashi, which is clearly not the right way. Okay, so Rashi saying an example. The first husband went to Medina Sayyam and now she can't get divorced. Right? Or whatever, that was the case. The way the Mefarshim say shot in the Rashi is that no, Rashi's saying that you can't go, if they gave the get Yoshan, according to Basil, she can't just go get remarried. If it's a Shasa Tchak and her husband's overseas and she can't get divorced, she's not guna, then we could rely on the get Yoshan. Right? I mean, if you read the Gemara straight, the Gemara says, according to the second version, if they gave the get yoshan, not supposed to give the get yoshan. If they gave it, she can go get married. Rashi's saying, I didn't see this in the Rashi, but that's what the Mefarshim say. It's Pshat and Rashi. Rashi's saying, no. She can't just go get married. It has to be a Shasat Chak situation. Then we could rely on a get yoshan. So the reason why it's sad for me is because I could have learned this Rashi 1,000 times. I would not have learned that in the Rashi. So I'm still not learning right pshat in a Rashi. That's one. Two is you also see that this is what happened when people make fun of Rabbanan. Oh, Shatatchak, so we're going to let it. This is a classic case of it. We're not going to say that lechatchila she can go use a get yosh. But if she's in a situation where she went overseas, where the husband went overseas, and now she's stuck as being an aguna, then we're going to rely on get yosham, because it's still Gezerah is obviously not such a strong Gezerah. Okay, it's a long Mishnah, so I guess we'll leave it for tomorrow, Bez Hashem. It's not hard. It's not a hard Mishnah. All right, we'll stop here.